Hi there guys, welcome to issue number 6. Now, I normally like to jump straight into things, but today I just want to take a second just to tell you about what's going to happen with Mortal Realms going forward. It's not a massive change, but I thought it'd be good to get a bit of feedback from you guys to make sure that A, you think it's going to work and you're going to like it, and B, to see if it's really worth it. So, every week I am going to carry on going through the book as usual, which is absolutely fine. I am going to continue to do the playthrough of the missions that we've got on here, but I will do it at the very end of the video, so people who don't need to see that or don't want to see that don't have to hang on for it or fast forward it so as they can see what comes the following week or anything like that. And I'm going to do one more thing, and specifically I'm doing it for next week. So usually in my Warhammer 40k Conquest videos, whenever we've got a week where we've got paints, people don't generally seem to like it very much. And I've always thought about something I could potentially do to kind of improve that episode, make it better, or make it, or provide something that people will enjoy more. So next week we have got a paint week. So we've got Stormhost Silver and Reichland Flesh Shade. Now, what I'm thinking of is on top of the mission that's played in there, next week I'll do a separate mission. But what that will be, and in order to break up the status quo for these missions, I'm gonna offer you guys two options. So I can either have the Nighthaunt versus Slaves to Darkness, or I can have Stormcast Eternal versus Ossiarch Bone Reapers. And what I'm thinking of, if I supply some simplified rules to bring us down to the level that we're at on the issues that we're looking at, and apply those to Ossiarch Bone Reapers and any other ones that I go through in the future, I thought it might be a way to make those issues a little bit more interesting. So if you let me know in the comments which one you would prefer, so that's Slave to Darkness versus the Nighthaunt, or Ossiarch Bone Reapers versus Stormcast Eternal, I will generate a small procedural army for each one and have a little playthrough for that, just to bulk out those episodes and make them a bit more interesting for people. So that's what we're going to be doing. At the end of this video as well, I've got a preview for issues 12 to 18. So some of you may have seen one of my videos that I released a few weeks ago, which was a preview of all of the covers for all of the issues up until issue number 11. Now the details for issue 12 to 18 have been released, and I'll go through that at the end of the episode. I don't have the front covers for those, but I've got all the details. So that'll be at the end as well. Right, let's get cracking. Mortal Realms issue number 6. So this week we're looking at Thorns of the Briar Queen. We've got Discover the Lost City of Shadespire, and then we've got Unbinding Spells playthrough. Right, in this issue, the Briar Queen is unleashed with this issue, and she's brought her Thorns along to battle the Stormcast Eternals. We also introduce a new painting technique in this issue, Drybrushing. You'll use it to create highlights on your Nighthaunt models. Highlights are lighter, brighter colours of paint applied to raise details of a model, making them stand out and look eye-catching. When you're done, your Nighthaunt should be the terror of your tabletop. Okay, so what have we got? We'll learn about the Thorns of the Briar Queen. We'll talk about Shadespire, delve into the cursed halls of Shadespire, a city that angered Nagash and suffered the terrible consequences. Then we look at Steelheart's Champions, which is Hammer's 8, which is a band of brave Stormcast Eternals trapped within the cursed city of Shadespire. Then we look at Chronicles of Terror, Nighthaunt number 3. Explore the horrifying history of the Nighthaunt and their murderous exploits across the mortal realms. Then how to build the Thorns of the Briar Queen, how to paint them, and then we've got our playthrough, issue number 6, the Arcane Duel. This playthrough will teach you how to unbind spells in your games of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So last week we learned how to cast spells, particularly Arcane Bolt, which can be cast by Xandria Azure Bolts, and so the Briar Queen also cast a spell this issue, and we will look at that when we do the playthrough. Okay. Thorns of the Briar Queen. Over the centuries, Shadespire has trapped many adventurers within its strange, illusory walls. The Briar Queen and her ghostly followers have been ordered by Nagash to punish those who enter the cursed streets of the Mirrored City. Okay. The Briar Queen was once a powerful death mage and a great enemy of Shadespire. Her armies broke through the city walls and threatened to tear it down from the inside. After a great battle, her plans failed and she was captured and sentenced to an eternity of imprisonment within the Night Vault. Far beneath the city, years passed and the Briar Queen was forgotten. Trapped for centuries in a cell made from shade glass, she was slowly consumed by madness. Driven mad by her imprisonment in the Night Vault, she now serves Nagash. She desires nothing more than revenge upon those who have wronged her. Okay, so within the Briar Queen's Thorns, we have got a few chain rasps, and then we've got two other models. We've got the Everhanged, and we've got Varklav the Cruel, and we'll look at those models in a minute. The Night Vault was created to hold Shadespire's enemies. The Lords of Shadespire, the Cataphragnes, filled this magical dungeon with thousands of rivals, thieves and would-be conquerors. All of these prisoners have been broken and tormented at the hands of their jailers. Thousands of years later, the souls of these victims still lingered, and Nagash saw them as a perfect tool with which to take control of Shadespire and remove all the trespassers trapped there. So that's who these guys are. So the Everhanged, the most powerful of the Briar Queen's chain rasp followers, is the Everhanged. He is the ghost of mass murder. He is the ghost of a mass murderer. The rope that ended his life still hangs around his neck. And then we've got Varklav the Cruel. Varklav the Cruel is the Briar Queen's main henchman. He was once the warden of the Night Vault until he himself was found guilty of murder and locked in its depths. And then we've got chain rasps, which we know all about from issue number 1. Okay, so now we've got other realms, which we've got Shadespire, which is what this issue is mainly about. Shadespire was once a city of wonder and magic, a vast metropolis rising from the unforgiving earth of the realm of death. Unfortunately for the citizens of this great city, their magical creations drew the wrath of Nagash, and he cruelly cursed them all. Okay. And this has got a little bit more about Shadespire. The ruins of Shadespire are in two places at once, both the realm of Shyish and a pocket between realms. This makes escape from Shadespire nearly impossible. The bleached ruins of Shadespire are still visible in the prime inner lands of Shyish. Only the foolish pass too close to the cursed city, for none that enter its boundaries ever leave the twisting maze within. Okay, so next we've got Hammers of Sigmar, Steelheart's champions. The Liberator Prime, Severin Steelheart, and his warriors were sent to Shadespire to retrieve samples of magical shade glass. They became trapped within the walls of the Mirrored City instead. And there you can see him battling some, looks like some Khorne warriors. So the trio of heroes. So these are all from the starter box, I believe, of the game Shadespire. So Oberyn the Bold, Severin Steelheart, and Anghard Brightshield. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that these are all models from that game. Interesting that they go into it in a bit more depth here. A bit more cross-selling, eh, Games Workshop? Not bad, not bad. Okay, so now we move on to Nighthaunt Chronicles of Terror. The Necroquake gave rise to great armies of Nighthaunts. But these creatures have existed for thousands of years, albeit in smaller numbers. Their history is long and terrifying, punctuated by misery, death, and battles beyond count. From his throne in Nagashazar, the great necromancer commanded his Mortarchs and watched his plans unfold. Okay, so we've got the Age of Myth. Come back. There's a great deal of Nighthaunt activity during these years, but entire armies composed of Nighthaunts are rare occurrences. Early in this period, Nagash claims rule over Shyish and constructs his great citadel and seat of power, Nagashazar. He charges his Mortarchs with carrying out his orders across the realm. During the alliance between Sigmar and Nagash, dozens of cities were founded across Shyish. In some, such as Gothizar, Glimsforge, Mortizan, and Sepulchton, their mortal citizens either pledge themselves to Nagash or sponsor a cult of death that earns the great necromancer's favour. In others, such as Shadespire or Hawthorne's End, their lack of proper respect for Nagash spells their ultimate doom. Okay, and we've got more about the Age of Chaos. Occasional small-scale attacks into Shyish by the followers of the Dark Gods gave way to full-fledged invasion. Okay, that's good. Then we've got how to build our Thorns of the Briar Queen. I've already built mine, so I'll quickly show you what they look like. So here is the Briar Queen herself. And she is on a, I believe, 32mm base. And then we've got the two henchmen that were mentioned previously. So we'll start with Varklav the Cruel. Got a set of keys there. Nice. We've got the Ever Hanged. There he is. Sorry, so these ones are now on a 25mm base. It's a very small. And this one was actually broken. I don't know if you can see, but just part of it was snapped off when I received it. And then finally, we've got 4 more chain rasps. Let's have a quick look. So very similar to what we've got before. My favourite of these ones is the guy that's carrying his own skull. But other than that, these are all very similar to the ones we received in issue 1. That one's a bit better, actually. So there you go. Now we start to look at dry brushing. So our Thorns of the Briar Queen, we're going to do them initially the same as we've done the other ones. So that is Corex Wyatt, 3 coats of Corex Wyatt, followed by some Nylak Oxide. Oh, yeah, so there you go. And then we're dry brushing some Corex Wyatt. Now, I'm sure that the vast majority of the people that are watching this will know exactly what dry brushing is. But for those who don't know, what you do is you get a piece of kitchen roll, something like that. You put a very small amount of Corex Wyatt on your brush and you rub almost all of it off. So really rub it off onto that kitchen roll until you can barely see it, and then softly brush it onto your model, and it will just catch the raised surfaces. So a good way of explaining that is if I show you what I've done with this Carcadron, is that the face was done initially with Magos Purple and some Nuln Oil, and then I just dry brushed some Rack White to catch those surfaces to show it more defined. It's not the best version of it, but it's what I've got to hand. Okay, so that is very cool. And again, we've got more paints next week, which will help us on. Okay, so this is how they'll look after that, which is very cool. Okay, then we've got our our battle, Arcane Duel, which I will come back to. But before that, let's have a look to see what our next couple of weeks worth of issues give us. So next week, as mentioned at the beginning, we've got 2 more paints. We've got Stormhost Silver and Reichland Flesh Shade. And the following week, we've got some really cool stuff. So we've got Cantor Blue base paint. We get a Celestar Ballista. and then we get 2 more models. Not sure exactly which ones these are, but they do look very, very cool. So we look forward to those. Now, before we go back and do our mission playthrough, I'm just going to fill you in with the details of some issues for which the information was released in the last couple of days. So a previous video I did shows all of the content up until issue 11, which is the first part of the Sigmarite Mausoleum, which is a terrain issue. Then issue 12 is going to be a Night Questor. Issue 13 is another paint one. We get a medium dry brush, Mechanicus Standard Grey and Abaddon Black. Issue 14 we've got some more Nighthaunt with the Dreadblade Harrows. Issue 15 we get the second part of the Sigmarite Mausoleum, second part of 3. Issue 16 we get 3 Sequitors, 2 Castigators and 6 dice. That's Sprue B from Soul Wars, I believe. Issue 17 we've got the Dread Scythe Harridans, which is more Nighthaunt. And then issue 18 we get more paint. So we get Dryad Bark, a Lead Belcher, and then we get our second game mat. Or our third if you include that really tiny one that we got with issue number 1. And normally what would happen with Warhammer 40k Conquest is that we did get an updated game mat on issue 18, and then we started actually using it from issue number 20. So anyway, that's enough of that. Let's have a look at today's mission. Okay, range ruler, dice, Zandria Azure Bolt, and the Briar Queen. So that's how we set it up. So let's read some of the flavour text that we've got here. Zandria Azure Bolt squinted through the swirling fog, her eyes still blazing with arcane fury. Many spirits had fallen to her magic, yet she sensed the battle was far from won. Soft rustling of vegetation caught her attention, and a shrouded figure emerged ahead of her, drifting through the temple wall and unleashing a shuddering moan. Misery and despair filled Zandria's heart, and it was all she could do to stay on her feet. The ghost thrust out a bony arm, and a line of thorny brambles coiled forth, rustling again in the breeze. The air hummed with magical energy, and Zandria knew at once she was facing a spellcaster of great power. She raised her staff and prepared to fight. Okay, so hero phase. So these are both heroes and they both cast arcane bolts. So Briar Queen's going to go first. Now if you remember, to cast arcane bolt, you have to be in range. Zandria is well in range here. And you roll 2 dice. It's got a casting power of 5, so you have to score at least a 5. So what does the Briar Queen get? So she gets a 10, which is, not bad at all. Very good. So the only way that Zandria can unbind that spell, she scores a dice roll, which is equal or more. So she needs a 10 up to be able to do it. So let's see what she gets. So now that is unsuccessful, the Briar Queen takes her movement phase, which is 6 inches, and she's going to head straight towards Zandria. There we go. So she has a shooting ability called Rending Scream. For that she rolls 3 dice and she scores hits on a 3 up. So let's see what we get. They all hit. So that's 3 wounds to Zandria. So she's only got 2 left. Okay. Now we're back. Now we switch to Zandria's hero phase. So she's going to try and cast Arcane Bolt, and she rolls a 4. So that is unsuccessful. So she needed a 5 to be able to cast it. So she's unsuccessful, so she cannot do it. So she moves straight to her movement phase. She can move 5 inches. And she's going to head straight for the Briar Queen. She ends there. Okay, so now it's Zandria's combat phase, and she has to be within 3 inches. So let's check that. She is just within, so she can pile in and start that combat phase. So now she's in range, she gets to make 3 attacks. We'll leave that there so we remember how many wounds she's got left. She does 3 attacks with her Incantor's staff. She scores hits with a 3-up. So 2 go through, and if you remember, these do D3 damage. So we roll each one. So we score a 1, so that's just 1 damage. And then we score a 5, that's another 3 damage. So that's 4 damage in total to the Briar Queen. And the Briar Queen takes 5 damage. So she's got 1 left. Okay, so we're back again. The Briar Queen's going to take her Arcane Bolt, casting of 5. She scores 5. Xandria's going to try to unbind it. She doesn't, she's unsuccessful. So it does 1 damage to Xandria. Then she's got her shooting phase. She's got 3 ranged attacks. She hits on a 3-up. And they all go through. Xandria Azure Bolt is dead. Okay, now I'm going to replay that mission again. However, there is criteria to add the Gryph-hound to Xandria's team and to add the Thorns to the Briar Queen. So we're going to do that now. The Briar Queen to go first. So Arcane Bolt, cast on a 10. Xandria unbind. Yes, she does. That's fine. She's going to move 6 towards Xandria. Brings it to there. These guys are going to move as well. So they move 6 inches as well, which is pretty much on that halfway line. So we'll do that. Okay. Briar Queen is going to roll her 3 dice for a rending scream, looking for 3-up. She makes 1 of them, and she's going to cast that onto the Gryph-hound. Gryph-hound goes down to 2 wounds. End of the phase. Xandria Azure Bolt is going to fire her Arcane Bolt. She's going to do it onto the Thorns. She casts on a 9. Unbind. Unbind is unsuccessful. That's 1 damage, killing 1 of the Thorns. She's going to move her 5 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our Gryph-hound is also going to move. He moves up to 9 inches. He's going to move to there. The Gryph-hound is going to do his. Gryph-hound's going to do his attack. He rolls 2 dice and needs a 3-up. 1 goes through, doing 1 damage, killing another one of the Thorns. Xandria is within 3 inches, so she's going to pile in. She rolls 3 dice, looking for a 3-up. And they all go through, so that kills 3 more of the Thorns. That phase is now over. The Briar Queen is going to cast Arcane Bolt. Successful on an 8. Xandria to unbind. She does on an 11. She's going to not move. She's going to stay where she is. And she's going to fire her 3 rending screams into the Gryph-hound. 2 go through, doing 2 wounds to the Gryph-hound, which kills him because he took 1 wound earlier. The Chain Rasp is going to pile in there. Going to roll 2 dice looking for a 4-up. 1 goes through, doing 1 damage to Xandria, so she's down to 4. That's over. Xandria is going to cast Arcane Bolt. She does it on a 5-up. Can it be unbound? Yes, it can. So that doesn't go through. She's going to stay where she is and not move because she's already in combat. She's going to roll her 3 dice looking for 3-ups. She gets 1. which kills the last of the Thorns. Back to the Briar Queen. 2 dice for Arcane Bolt. She fails. 3 dice for Rending Scream. 1 goes through, doing 1 damage. So Xandria's down to 3. Goes back to her go. Arcane Bolt. Successful on a 7. Unbind. Is successful on an 8. Xandria is going to pile in to the Briar Queen. She's going to roll her 3 dice to attack, looking for 3 ups. 1 is successful, doing 1 damage. The Briar Queen is now down to 4. Briar Queen goes for Arcane Bolt and passes on a 6. Xandria is going to unbind and manage to do so on a 7. Then the Briar Queen is going to roll her 3 dice, looking for 3 ups for Rending Scream. 2 go through. Xandria is down to 1 wound. But it flips to her go. Arcane Bolt. Successful on a 7. Unbind. Is unsuccessful on a 5. So that's 1 wound. Putting her down to 3. Xandria can win it, where she rolls 3 dice for her attack. Looking for 3 ups. 2 go through. Putting the Briar Queen down to 1. Briar Queen is going to go Arcane Bolt. Successful on a 5. Xandria is going to try and unbind. Successful on a 6. Three Rending Screams into Xandria, looking for 3 up to win the game. Successful. The Briar Queen wins. Okay, so I thought I'd just go a little bit more in depth this week to show you the different types of battles with the different guys. I hope you could understand all that as it was going on. It's made more difficult by the fact that I haven't painted anything yet, but I will try and fix that very soon. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. So don't forget, next week we are going to be doing either Stormcast Eternal versus Ossiarch Bone Reapers, or Nighthaunt versus Slave to Darkness. Drop a comment down below. Whoever gives the most comments will win, and the one that doesn't win we'll save for a battle another day. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Much appreciated. I'll catch you later.